This is a 2008 Mitsubishi Evolution 10 MR. And this is a 2013 Evolution 10 GSR. Now these were starting to be released in 2007 and were made right up until 2015. So they can be up to 16 years old at this point. So in this video, I'm going to be going over what goes wrong with them, what it actually costs to fix those parts, but also what's great about them and whether or not you should consider buying one in 2023 and beyond. Okay, so as I said, these cars were released in 2007 and they stopped production in 2015 with a final edition model. So they can be anywhere from 8 to 16 years old now, which is surprising because as you can see, they do still look nice and modern and are still a modern sports car. But with them being that old, what are they like mechanically? Can you expect to pick up, say, a 2008 MR, like this red one here, drive around for a year or two, hassle-free, and then sell it without dealing with too many issues? But if something does go wrong, what are those issues going to be and what will they cost? So that's what we're going to be covering in this video. So we'll start off by looking at the MR because these are generally on the cheaper side compared to the GSR. So let's start off with this red one here. So these MRs generally will come with the 6-speed dual clutch DCT or SST as Mitsubishi calls it. Now they get a lot of reputation for being unreliable and having issues. That can be the case, especially early on before people really knew how to look after them, how to drive them, and the servicing schedule. Because Mitsubishi in their logbooks originally said every 90,000 kilometers for a service for these, a lot of them early on did have issues. So now we all know that it's more going to be like every 10 to 15,000 kilometers or just at least once a year. And if you just do a fluid and a filter change on the gearbox, they generally seem to last, as well as driving them with a little bit of mechanical sympathy, letting them warm up. They are a pretty good gearbox and we've had no issues with this one. So if something does go wrong, what can you expect to fix one of these? Now, clutches can start at around, this is going to be Australian dollars, around $2,700 to just like a drive-in, drive-out package with stock clutches. Or what most people do is use that opportunity to upgrade and go to like a 10-plate clutch system or higher if you want to make more power. I recently rebuilt the SST on my Evo 10, which we don't have here today, it's a black one. So I did a full rebuild, I did basically everything you could do, and it was around $8,000 plus. So it is a lot of money and it is something that you're really going to want to stick with the car once you've spent that kind of money on it. But I love mine more than ever now since I've had it done. They are great to drive, they launch really well. If you want to see plenty of videos driving them, there is plenty on the channel that you can check out. So that's the main difference between the two cars. So we've come over here to the Evo 10 GSR. So this is going to come with a 5-speed manual gearbox. So you've got your traditional manual gearbox with a clutch, and it is also a great gearbox. These are going to be better if you're wanting something that's going to be like a drag car generally. They're going to handle a little bit more power and not going to cost as much to upgrade. So if you pick up an Evo 10 GSR, you're going to have the manual gearbox. Generally, if you want to start upgrading power, you're going to want to upgrade your clutch master cylinder. Now it's going to start at around $1,400 and can be anything more than that with labor and everything, but that's going to get you a Magnus Master kit with a genuine metal Evo 9 master cylinder. And then for the clutch, once you're going to upgrade power, go above the 300 kilowatts, 400 wheel horsepower type range, you're definitely going to want to get an upgraded clutch. So example, an NPC upgraded clutch, around $986 or $2,500 installed, including flywheel, machining, new flywheel, machine bolts, fluids, wheel alignment, everything you need done. So really looking at around $4,000 for a healthy gearbox upgrade for the manual. So your clutches, your master cylinder, everything all freshened up. Whereas for the MR, for the similar type package to upgrade to handle more power, you're looking at double that at around $8,000. So you can see why some people would prefer going for the GSR option. They also get the more mechanical driving feel, but again, they are both great gearboxes. I've driven both of many. I own the SST, I still like it. Yes, it can have its issues, but That's going to be the main differences between the cars mechanically. They do have the same engine, the same drivetrain, just about everything else. There is some subtle differences between them. These are both not stock examples that we've got here, so both pretty modified. But I did make a video previously showing the differences between an Evo 10 MR and a GSR. But yeah, since these two both have a lot of those upgrades done already, it is harder to compare them. But the main difference you're going to find is going to be the manual gearbox versus the dual clutch. So with that out of the way, what actually goes wrong mechanically with these? So I'll start off and I'll pop the bonnet on the MR here and give you guys a look to show what needs to be upgraded and the sort of costs associated with that. Okay, so I've popped the bonnet on both cars so we can have a bit of a look, but as you can see, they are the same. They both have the 4B11T engine. So with this, usually the most common thing you're going to find is the exhaust manifold back here. They both, not sure if you can probably see, but both these cars have upgraded because, probably see better on this one, the stock one, it is always going to crack. It is definitely going to happen at some point. So people generally will upgrade to a tubular manifold, which is what these two have. Now those can, depending on brand and a lot of other things, you're looking at generally around $1,500 to upgrade one of those. There is cheaper options. You can go with a cast manifold, similar to the stock one, but both these cars have gone with the tubular. So that's basically guaranteed. So even a lot of the cars you'll be looking at these days will already have that done. If they don't, it's something that you need to bear in mind that will happen. So yeah, the engines are pretty reliable generally, but that manifold is going to crack and you will have to consider doing the upgrade at some point. So with the cracked manifold, that's a common issue. Another one is going to be the turbo housing on the exhaust. So they seem to crack also. Generally, if you're buying one of these cars, you're going to be looking at upgrading that manifold and turbo anyway, which both these cars have upgraded turbos and manifolds. So, but that's just something to be aware of. If you're buying something stock, maybe get those checked, pull the exhaust heat shield off, like the exhaust manifold heat shield off, have a good look for cracks. They can start on the inside as well and work their way out, but that's going to be a common thing. Other things with these cars as they're getting older is going to be bushes and suspension. So both these again have upgraded suspension with coilovers. Another common thing you're going to be expecting to do if you buy one of these cars, just make them handle that a little bit better with some coilover suspension, but the stock suspension does seem to leak and yeah, get some issues. That's something that I haven't to do with my car as well, but at the same time, it's something that I did want to do originally. Another common thing, which is a cheaper and easy fix, is going to be your spark plugs, your fuel filter relays and fluids. Those things need to have been done regularly, so you'd hope that any car you're looking at has been looked after mechanically. Okay, so the other main thing you're going to want to consider if looking at one of these is doing your drivetrain fluids every 15 to 30,000 kilometers. So it's going to be more expensive on fuel, servicing, insurance, tyre wear, all that sort of stuff that you're going to expect with any type of sports car. So any car you're looking at that's in this type of category, those things are going to be common. Now the Evo is going to need an engine service every 5,000 kilometers, but also the drivetrain, you're going to want to do those fluids at least once a year as well. You're going to go through tyres more, you're going to be using more expensive fuels, more expensive fluids. So something to keep in mind is if you're coming from an economy car, like even the base model Lancer, these can cost roughly around 5 times more per year to maintain. So that is quite a bit more money, but again, I think it's well worth it. It's money well spent. So that's basically everything that's going to cost you to run and maintain these cars, to fix them. But overall, what do they like to drive? You can see just how good they look. They're still a very nice modern car. I think the lines of them are really nice. This being a later model, so we'll come in closer. This has got some Series 2 style side skirts. So if you're looking at an earlier model, it's not going to have those side skirts. I can't even show you the original ones because this MR here has the aero side skirts, but you're going to have a very small side skirt on the earlier model. The other thing that's going to change, if we jump inside, we can get a good look at the manual, is in this later model, you're going to have the coloured dash, so it's far nicer.
Welcome to Uniden dashboard.
So that's definitely a worthy upgrade to the earlier one, because we'll jump over to the MR and we'll show you that as well. So it'll have a red, sort of not coloured dash like that one, but it does show its age a little bit more. So yeah, you can see that one, definitely not as nice at all, but it's going to be the main difference. And as for the interior, now compared to some more modern sports cars, the interior is not anything to write home about. I don't think it's too bad. You've got some really nice comfy Recaros. If you're getting the MR and if you're getting the MR, you're going to have leather, whether it's full leather or like this with the partial suede leather combo. You'll have a factory head unit, it's been replaced in this one. You'll have obviously your paddles, so the SST transmission. Now this car does have a few more modern upgrades. This surround isn't from the 2008. We've sort of upgraded a few parts in this. Both cars have like a full black interior. You expect to have cream roof lining and pillars. When you pick up an earlier model, it's only really the final edition that's going to have the black like this, which is where these cars have gotten them from. But overall, I mean, the interior is a lot of hard, scratchy plastic on top of the doors generally, but this one has some leather door card upgrades as well. But the interior isn't going to be anything crazy, but it's the drivetrain and the driving experience that is really going to make these cars worth looking at. They sound great, they look great. The aftermarket support is what it's all about here. So we'll come back over to this one, give you a better look at this interior as well. So if you get an early GSR, it's going to have some cloth Recaro seats, but no matter what, any Evo 10 in Australia is going to have these really nice Recaro seats. And this one also, you can see, has the black roof lining, pillars and everything. Generally they're going to be cream, but I mean, yeah, a lot of people complain about the interior in these. Yes, it's no Euro car, but it's not what you expect. So this one also has the upgraded door cards. So you can get lots of later model parts to fix the interior up, which is probably going to be one of the main complaints people make about these cars. It's not very rattly, it's not too bad, but it is got a lot of hard, scratchy plastics. And it's nice enough. I live with it, but some people, that may be a turn off. But yeah, that is probably the main downside people will find for these. Alright, so I think I've covered everything that I wanted to go over in this video. Now, all of these prices I've been saying have been in Australian dollars, so if you're in the US or any other country, then definitely convert those to the dollar that you use. But I just wanted to end it by saying overall, answer the question, are these still worth buying in 2023 and beyond? Now I'd say 100% yes. The price that you pay for one of these, the upgrade potential they have, really in that price range, there isn't many cars that I think are going to better the handling, steering and overall performance you get out of these cars. There is faster cars in a straight line, but there's not going to be something faster in a straight line that's going to handle the corners as well, have the upgrade potential, have the looks. I think it's just the total package. So if you're looking at getting one, I'd say consider all the costs associated with maintaining them, the parts that do go wrong, and then weigh them up with any other car you're looking at, and make sure you do your research in any other car, the things that go wrong, because no performance car is going to be hassle-free. Any performance car you're looking at, you're going to read nothing but horror stories, but it's good to sometimes read those and keep an open mind, as not everything's going to go wrong, but the enjoyment you get out of those cars is well worth it. So yeah, I think that is all I wanted to cover. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those below. Massive thanks to Lockie for bringing his car out today, helping me film this video. He's got the white GSR. I'll put his Instagram up on the screen. And also thanks to Letitia for letting me use her red MR. Also got her Instagram up there as well. And again, a shout out to Alan at AK Racing for helping me out with the pricing for some of the parts that go wrong. He's a wealth of knowledge and he deals with these every day. So that's someone that I wanted to reach out and ask, what are the common issues that you see day to day at your workshop with these cars? So he's helped out with some of those answers. But yeah, that is going to be everything. So if you enjoyed the video, if you found it helpful, give it a thumbs up down below. Like I said, if you have any other questions, leave them below. I'll try and get an answer for you in a reply. And subscribe if you're not already for plenty more videos like this about the Evo X platform. But with all that said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.